Hi, my name is Lauren Evans, and I chose to do my NGO on a domestic violence NGO, and it's called the Caribbean Development Foundation. So what they do is they focus on the same policies that we have implemented here in the United States, and they are taking those policies and bringing them into the Caribbean. So they're implementing the same policies that we already have that have worked effectively, at least somewhat for us, and they are bringing those over into the Caribbean. So the whole goal of this is to provide these regional governments with more of a structurized legal system. So there were several different policies that they implemented in order to create more of a broad system that would make it so that each case was still based on the acts of the crime. They wouldn't be necessarily immediately charged with one sentence for a domestic violence crime. It would be based on the actual crime itself, so that the more extenuating circumstances were receiving a higher consequence, and the least extenuating were receiving a much smaller consequence. So it was more beneficial in that sense for the defendants. It was more fair, and it was protecting their rights, but it is still protecting the victims who are suffering from domestic violence in the home in the Caribbean. So this program gets a lot of funding, but the 5 top companies and people who are donating are from all around the world. So there's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is a huge corporation that's donating to them. They also have the Kingdom of the Netherlands donating to them. The Foreign Affairs and Commonwealth of the United Kingdom is donating, and so is the Fernandez Business Center. So there are a lot of places from all around the world, mostly European countries, that are donating to the Caribbean. And there was a policy that was implemented in 2017, which is called a Call to Men. And so that was mainly an awareness campaign. And it was making it so that these men were more aware of the consequences that they would be facing if they committed an act of domestic violence against either their partner or somebody living in the same home as them. So it was to make sure that they know that there is some kind of severe consequence that will be arising out of their actions. And the main countries that this was first implemented in were Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Trinidad. This will eventually be in every island in the Caribbean. However, those are the 4 that they were testing this concept on, and since it's been successful, they are planning on implementing it. So the next thing that they did was the Cascada Protocol. And the Cascadia Protocol is a huge component for this NGO in regards to the Violence Against Women campaign. So they're creating these programs that will indirectly provide support for victims of these crimes. So like I talked about earlier, it was more focused on protecting the human rights of the defendant. However, this is making it so that it's not just the defendant who's protected, of course, it's also the victim, which is often more important since they're the one who's affected by the crime. So because these victims are now able to be protected, they have a greater feeling of support. It makes it a little bit easier for them to come forward when they've had instances of domestic violence with their partner. It makes it easier for them to feel like they've been heard, that they have access to resources, which is extremely important. I would personally want to work here because I have a background in domestic violence. I did my honors thesis on domestic violence as well and created a resource website and pamphlet for victims of domestic violence. So I am happy to work anywhere in the world focusing on helping women and men and children who have become victims of domestic violence. And I think it would be amazing to live in the Caribbean and work for this company. It's a beautiful place to be. I visited and somewhere I'd love to go back, and it would be very cool to have the experience of not just working with victims of domestic violence, but also creating a new system for them. So I would be implementing new systems and new programs that would be helping these victims instead of just working on the old ones. So it would be an incredible reform, and it would be very cool to be a part of. The reason that I chose this specific NGO is, again, because I have that background in domestic violence, and I wanted to do one that wasn't necessarily based in the United States, but that was something that we were still affected by, because we do have territory in the Caribbean, and we do have a lot of people in the U.S. who go on vacation in the Caribbean. It's a really big spot for people who want to go out of the country and visit a beach. So since United States citizens are also affected by it, I figured it would be a beneficial one to do, and I thought it was very cool to see a new program created for domestic violence prevention rather than just working on the old ones and fixing what was already broken. We are creating programs to completely get rid of these old ones that are clearly not working in order to better the society and help these